I cleared off my computer for this. Oopsies. All right. All right. Hey guys. How y'all doing tonight? Hi, Natalie. So good to see you. I can't hear you though if you said something.
I know, same here. I've missed you.
All right, while we're here, just a little quiz-a-roni. Who can name what's on the screen? What plants are these? Anybody know? Ooh, yeah, pop in.
Dandelion.
Dandelion, okay.
Is that plantain?
Yeah. Got this one. These leaves look funny. That I don't know what the leaves are doing, but you can guess with the flower. Maybe.
Is it violet?
Yes, yes. This one's on a tree.
Hibiscus?
Magnolia. We won't be talking about it, but yeah. And what about this one's a vine? This one is wisteria. Right now, this one's blooming everywhere in Alabama. It always reminds me, my stepdad, he died April 24th. And like the last month of his life, you know, as he was slowly fading out, we would just sit in the backyard, and on the trees in the back, there were just all these wisteria vines, and it was just like it was like painted purple. And so now every time I see them, they make me think of him. So, you know, we always like to do a little plant quiz. So this is herbs for spring. We're going to talk a little bit about the season of spring, the organs, the energies of it, and then look at a bunch of the plants that will be growing wild. We all live in different locations. We can kind of say where we all are, because plants will grow a little bit different. But generally, a lot of these will be in most every place. I found, I was even able to find plantain in like the mountains of Jamaica. So like these plants are in many different places. Just the timing might be a little bit different. And then we'll go into the plants, where you would go to find them, what their medicinal benefits are, and how you would use them. So a little bit about me. I'm Katie, Herb Lady Katie. Weeds like this, the wild plants, they were the first introduction to me on my herbal path, and they are my love language, as well as simples, using one plant at a time. I love herbal medicine, but I just really love plants, and I love to talk about them. So that's why I'm really excited to do this with you guys. A bit about me. I'm originally from Los Angeles, went to school and had my son in New York, and now I live in Alabama with my son, who's 10. And I am a guardian to a teenager. She's 17, so that's Lennox and Naya. And we have 2 cats, and my other cat actually just had kittens. She had them under the house, and it was a whole thing of how they all came in the house finally last week. So now we have 5 cats, and it was funny. I was never an animal person, and now I've got like a whole gaggle of them. That says I used to be a Deluda, but it meant doula, and childbirth educator, placenta encapsulator, astrologer, crystal seller, worked with kids, and much more. And all of these things have ended up being very intertwined. We'll go through and do a little introductions with our astrology. If you know yours, I'm a Sagittarius sun, a Capricorn moon, and a Pisces rising. You guys can let me know what y'all are. And if you can say it out loud, I think that'll be easier than me having to figure out how to find the chat.
I'm a Gemini Cancer rising.
What's your moon?
I don't know, but I'm a tiger.
Oh, you're a tiger. So your Jupiter is in Pisces.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's our year. I'm a tiger too.
Yay!
And that means that our Jupiters are in Pisces. Hey, gang, it's our season. It's our year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm a Leo, Libra.
The Libra is the moon, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a Capricorn, Leo, Virgo.
Yeah, so Capricorn sun, Virgo moon, right? Yeah, fun, fun, fun. Got a lot of
I'm also
fire and earth.
I'm also a Leo. That's cool. Double Leo sun, Leo moon.
What's you have a Virgo ascendant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fire and earth. Fun. Cool. All right, so this is pretty, like I said, pretty general. That's why there's overlaps, because depending on where you are, I think plants will come up at different times. But what we can generally look for in the spring are a lot of flowers. I don't know how it is where you are. I'm in Alabama, so all the trees have been blooming and all the flowers. It's been so beautiful. But all of the plants in my yard too, little flowers, violets, dandelions, the redbud trees, the magnolias. And then we've had chickweed and purple dead nettle, but they also were here in the colder months. Alabama doesn't get that cold. So we have a little bit of overlap between our winter and spring plants, as well as our summer and spring. Like plantain is up right now for us, but it'll be going for a while up until early summerish, pretty strong. And then in the summer, we have a lot of the big blossoms. Elder flower, again, is both, depending on how warm it is. But calendula, motherwort, bee balm, everything will just start coming up with all these beautiful flowers, right? Passion flower. And then in the fall, we still have a few flowers like goldenrod, but in the fall is when all of the energy starts going down to the roots, right? And so in the fall is when we're looking for yellow dock root, burdock root, dandelion root. There's a lot of the good like inulin has gone down into the roots that makes them really good medicinal, as opposed to if we got them now, everything would have been sucked dry to keep the plant alive, and most roots would just be good for their bitter qualities in spring. Still good, but most benefit in the fall. And then in the winter, there are some of the henbit, purple dead nettle, again, elecampane root. Some roots you might get just before or after the first frost, depends. So right now we're looking over here in spring. So we're going to be looking at a lot of these different flowers. Redbud, nobody here is in Virginia. Apparently it's the state tree of Virginia, but redbud over here, all of those are pretty much already gone. We're on to those beautiful green leaves. That's my favorite color, is the first leaves of spring. But this is just an idea of when we would get certain plants throughout the year and when we would harvest certain flowers, right? So let's look at spring energy so we can understand the benefits of a lot of the plants coming up right now and how they work with like our clock, right? Our seasonal clocks. So I love to look at Chinese medicine. My mother's an acupuncturist, and so I grew up, she went back to grad school when I was in middle school. And so while she's in grad school learning how to become an acupuncturist and learning Chinese medicine, we're sitting at the dinner table being quizzed on all of these types of ideas and using alternative medicine in the household. So it's very much, to me, intertwined with everything that I then studied later with herbal medicine. So this is called the 5 element or the 5 phases theory. And so right now we're here in spring, and this is the wood energy. So wood, where's this down, is the over here, right? So it's just coming up. It's the active functions that are growing. So it's the phase where things are beginning to grow. Then we come up, and it's the color of green. Then we come up to summer, right? The peak, and that's fire. And that's the functions are reaching their maximal state of activity. They're about to enter their resting period. Earth is actually kind of a balance or a neutral. It's not one of the 4 seasons we recognize. They sometimes say it might be like the Indian summer phase. So it's kind of like the buffer between. Earth being a neutral type of energy. And then we go into metal, which is fall, and this is as the functions are in a declining state. then water. Into winter, functions have reached a maximal state of rest and are about to change. Sorry for that misspell of there. The direction of their activity. And then again, we come up here to wood, to spring, where we're beginning to grow. And so this is the phases of our seasons, right? This is the phases of our bodies. We also ideally would follow the same pattern, right? In winter, we also would kind of be in our hibernation, right? Not being as active, not being as in movement, but then we do start to get our activity, get it going again, right? In spring and in summer, when we have all these long days full of energy, we're going, and so on and so forth. So this is how it breaks down in Chinese medicine. There's connections to colors, seasons, organs, tissues, sensory organs, emotions, taste. I don't know what this character is. I tried to block it out, but I couldn't get something. I've never heard of this. But everything else is laid out so well that I kept it in there. Just ignore that. I couldn't find a rectangle that could fit well to cover it. So here in spring, it's wood and the color is green, right? That's everything is finally popping back up with color. We've got the beautiful green on the trees. The grass is starting to grow again. We've got the weeds popping up in the yards, which is usually the first sign of the green, that things are coming back up. And it's the season of spring, and it's connected to the organs of the liver and the gallbladder. So we're going to be talking about the liver, and how a lot of the plants we're going to see will be supportive of the liver in this season. The tissues are the tendons. I kind of think of it sometimes as we're coming out. I picture like when we're a kid and they show like a cartoon and the bear is personified coming out of its den with its like nightcap on. It's like, oh, stretching out. And it's like, but imagine if we do that, like, oh, it's like everything's a little crickety crackety, like, oh, just had a nice long sleep. And we got to kind of get it lubricated, get it going, get things able to move around, right? And then it's a sensory organ of the eyes. And then I think of this when my poor teenager is like constantly having to deal with the watery eyes from what's going around, Nally? Yeah, allergies, pollen. I've been thinking about you with those too. Yeah, right. So all the wind going around, getting in your eyes, creating that issue as well in spring. The emotion is anger, and the taste is sour. And each season has these same correlations. Summer is fire, and it rules the blood vessels, the heart and intestine, the tongue. And so, in my beginner's course, we spend a lot more time on this and really correlating as we go through everything, and really understand how it kind of all ties together and the plants and stuff. But we're just going to focus here on the spring and the liver and the gallbladder and this as we look at these plants, all right? But keep in mind that there are energies and parts of our bodies and different things that are activated and can be nurtured specifically through each season if we're aligning with the seasonal and internal clocks, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. So we can't act as if we're separate from the natural world around us, right? So in Chinese medicine, I'm going to just hit each of these little points, right? So the liver in Chinese medicine. So again, over here, we're looking at the color, the themes of spring: green, liver, gallbladder, eyes, anger, sour, herbs and foods, wild greens, and dandelion. So the liver in Chinese medicine stores the blood, okay? It is an organ that is exquisitively sensitive to boundaries and maintains a smoothness and harmony of movement through the blood. They say it is both connected to the qi, which is the movement, and the blood, which is, what is moving, the qi and the yin. So the liver is connected to both, right? So it's about the deep nourishment as well as the movement, the flow. Like I said, it rules the flowing and the spreading. And it stores the soul, the hun, which again is sensitive to the boundaries that make for the recognition of self and others, right? So it kind of is able to say, this is where I end, and that's where you begin. Okay. It's again, that says tin, supposed to say yin. It's the yin organ that has an edge. And it's the liver is the foundation for curtailing extremes. My mom used to always say, you can tell if someone has a liver problem if they just don't shut up. Like, you know, like when they're just not getting any of the cues and they just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking, and you're like, got it. Cool, great, awesome. Wow. Oh, you're to the 50th story. Okay, can you chill out? Like they're not getting the boundary, right? They're not understanding that they're coming on too strong and that there's too much, right? The flow is just flowing a little too much, spreading a little too much. So when we're looking at the liver, we want to think about the themes, how I said on the bottom, flow, right? It helps things move around, and boundaries, and blood, which is our deep nourishment, right? So keep these ideas in mind as we are going through. I'm going to come back to them as we're going through the ideas of spring. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay. Is it kind of interesting, kind of cool? Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks.
Now awesome. Let's put this together with the physical anatomical functions of the liver. I've read so many different things. It does 250 functions. It does 500 functions. Basically, it does a lot. It is in charge of bile production, which assists the breakdown, of fats in the small intestine. It removes the nutrients from the blood and converts simple sugars into glycogen, synthesizes into amino acids. So it's about like our build, like the building blocks of who we are. The liver has an integral piece in that. Maintains blood glucose levels. We all know the liver detoxifies, right? But the thing with the liver, remember it in Chinese medicine, it stores the blood. So the hepatic artery delivers oxygen-rich blood to the liver, and then the hepatic portal vein supplies oxygen-poor, nutrient-rich blood from the digestive tract. So it's getting both oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood. And it's getting the oxygen-poor blood because it absorbs the toxins before it goes back to the heart and to the rest of the body. So it is incredibly important in what it does with the blood, right? The blood has to go through the liver to make sure that it's in good condition to go everywhere else, right? The liver also is very much connected to the lymph, right? Which is another transporter. So the liver is transporting all these things, right? It's transporting the bile to the small intestine, and it's making sure that the nutrients come in here and turn into this, and our blood sugar levels, right? It's also incredibly important to our hormones, because if it's not being able to detoxify and do all of these things, right, then we end up having excess estrogen, excess hormones, and then we have issues with that, right? So the liver is very important. Now think, we have been in winter where, gosh, I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, and I'll be honest, I didn't take nearly as many herbs. I didn't eat that well. And I was like, dang, I'm feeling kind of sluggish. Like around my periods, my face broke out more than usual. And I was like, and these to me are all symbols like, oh, okay, that's because I'm not really, I'm a little clogged up, right? Those are my symbols or my signs for that. And so then we come here, and I'm not the only one, and I don't party or anything, but what do we have? We have party after party after party. It's like party season in the winter, right? We're supposed to be hibernating. Why are we partying? Partying for Christmas, partying for New Year's, partying for everything, right? And what do we do when we party? We drink. And then what has to deal with with our alcohol? The liver. So on top of the fact that we just live in a toxic environment, even if we do our best, right? So a lot of this comes down to the liver. And so then we come to spring, we're more active, longer days, warming up. We're like, all right, let's go, let's get it together. Now it's time for the liver's like, yes, please help me, right? So now, keeping all this in mind, do you understand the liver and all of its functions from an energetic standpoint with Chinese medicine, as well as the Western anatomy, so we can get into the plants and kind of tie it all together? Is this making sense? Yeah? All right. So some definitions. We're going to be looking at herbs. We might call them bitters. They aid the digestive process by both helping stimulate the digestion, create more digestive juices so that our food can be broken down. They are also something we would take like before we eat, sometimes to get it going, to get the digestive fire going. There's alteratives. So it's in the name. They alter the body's metabolic process and improving the functions. What they do is they help move things, oftentimes through the lymph, to our detoxification organs, one being the liver, also the kidneys, the lungs, the skin, the digestion. But they're altering the body's metabolic process to get all this stuff out. And in folk traditions, it was called blood cleansers. It's another word for a lot of alternative herbs. And then we also have demulcents. And they relieve irritation and inflammation on the tissue, specifically like the mucosa. Okay, so these are just some definitions because we're going to be talking about them and you're like, wait, what? It does what? What does that mean? So these are herbal actions. The actions these herbs take in our body. Now, many herbs have multiple actions, and we'll get into that. But these are some common ones that we'll see, right? So the action these herbs have is that, as a bitter, is that they aid the digestive process. The action is that these herbs will help move things through the lymph and get them to our detoxification organs. The action that these herbs is that they will create like a protective barrier on inflamed mucosal tissue. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so before we jump into the plants, we have to talk about the protocol because I'm introducing you to mostly plants you can go outside and see. And it's important to me, you know, that we don't come at this from like this Western extractive patriarchal way, you know, like those images where it's like, you know, the ecosystem and then we're the human on top, but instead one of the ecosystems and we're just like one of the parts of it, right? So when we go for a plant walk, here are some tips. First, engage your senses, all 5 of your senses, okay? So we're gonna sit down with one of these plants. Which one do you guys choose? We'll say this one over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which one? Yell out a number. Whoever yells first, we'll go with.
3 or 5.
All right, we'll go. I want to go 5.
3.
3. Okay, we got 2 3s. We got 2 3s. All right, we're gonna go violet. Man, I wish it was daytime. We could go in my backyard. It's literally a sea of purple right now. All right, so we're gonna go sit with this plant. So we're gonna engage our senses. You know what? Hold on. How do I get out of here? All right. So this is violet. So engage our senses. So first, we're gonna just look at it, right? We're gonna notice its shapes and we're gonna notice. So let's look at the leaf. What can you say? It's a little hard because of the angle, but what can you notice about the leaf? Just throw features out, right?
It looks soft.
It does look
But
soft.
that's-
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. No, we'll talk about that. One of the sides of the leaf has a velvety texture. That's an identifiable feature. So yeah.
It has
You can't-
curly edges.
Exactly, curly edges. You can't see the shape, but you will in the pictures. The shape is kind of like a heart, which we'll talk about. You can kind of see the flower. This is obviously out of focus, but you see the shape of the flower and you can count how many petals. So if we were, what?
5 petals?
Yeah, I can't tell if this one, these are kind of lobed. Yeah. Yeah. Now this is a purple. There also are white ones as well. But so what things do you correlate the color purple with?
Regalness.
Yeah, yeah.
Crown chakra.
Crown chakra, yeah. So we'll get to that. So these we're just noticing, right? We're just engaging our senses. You said soft, so we would touch the leaves. Now, if you know that it's not poisonous, you can take a little bit, not necessarily eat it, and just chew it and kind of see the texture. If you did that, I did this with my son, and I was like, "What do you notice?" Because it's kind of slimy, and it is. It's a slimy herb, and that reminds you of what? Mucus, right? Marshmallow, yeah. And so those herbs are demulcent because you put them on irritated tissue because they kind of calm it down. My son and I, we were playing in the yard and I was showing him how they feel. And we were like rubbing on the stinging nettle. And, he was like, oh, that stings. And so we went and found this plant, chewed it up and put it on there. And he was like, oh yeah, it feels better. And I was like, yeah, that's what it does. It helps calm inflamed tissue. So if you're getting to know it, you would chew it up a little bit and be like, oh, this is kind of slimy. Cool. That's a demulcent. That's something mucusy, right? So that's how we would get to know it with our five senses. You might smell it, right? See how a violet smells. If you're like walking on it, see if it's crunchy, see if it like has like a pop, or see if it's really like gentle and quiet. I'll tell you, the first time I met Violet, it was at this park. They don't even grow there anymore. I don't know what happened, but it sang to me. It was, and I cannot ever remember the song, but it was a song about friendship. Oh, I just heard it the other day, but it's in that movie from the 80s with the four boys and the one boy, the Phoenix boy, River Phoenix. Lean on me when you're not strong. That was the song. They like all of a sudden, as soon as I came into this patch of violets, that song was just on repeat in my mind. And I was like, all right, I'll sit with you and become friends. So that leads me into the next thing when we're looking at a plant is engage your intuition. So you get to know it with your five senses, and then tap into your sixth. Let like that. All of a sudden you have a crazy song in your head that doesn't make any sense and you can't get it out. Okay, that's the plant talking to you. Sit with it. See what comes up. See what energy, close your eyes, scan your body. Do you feel anything in any particular place? Do you feel colors or see colors? Whatever, you know what I mean? Tap into that. Ask it. Hey, what should I know? What do I need to know? Do you have anything to tell me? I think we often say, oh, let me go sit with the tree and meditate with the tree, but sit with the flowers, meditate with the flowers. Let them tell you what they need to, what they want you to know, how you can use them, right? And this isn't just the first time. Like, do this multiple times. Go back to that area and then say, hey, show me where else you are. Are you in more places? Can I get to know you other ways? And then notice, oh, they grow really well over here. They don't grow really well over there. Spend time with them. The thing about plants that I think is super important for me is all of this leads us back to caring more about Earth. This is getting us back into a different way of existing on the planet. We're going towards this idea of progress, which is as much fake stuff as possible, right? And so it's important to tap into this with reverence, with respect, right? So that's just my soapbox before you start picking plants, okay? But it's also the most beautiful experience because you create friends. Like violet flowers do not bloom all year. I look forward to the season in my backyard where I can lay there and it's just a seed and we can just like I literally get giddy. I'm like, hi guys, like I literally, like they're my friends, right? And if you think about that, like oftentimes it's like my closest friends who understand my love language is my medicine the best, or like the medicine I need, they're the people we turn to. And the plants, it's the same way. They feel us, they read us, vice versa, okay? So that's just one way, if you go on a plant walk, to connect deeply with the plant first. I saw Devana posted in how she had been going to these certain places and getting to know the plants in a certain land, and now she's ready to use them after a year. And I was like, yes, I feel that, like there's no rush. One of my first teachers said it takes 7 lifetimes to become an herbalist, right? There's no rush. The plant, well, God willing, that human, hopefully if anything happens, we go before the plants, but God willing, the plants aren't going anywhere, right? All right, so first up is violet. So the habitat is violet will grow in a lot of places, but it likes cool and damp. That's another thing my son and I were looking at in the yard. They're everywhere, but they're really big. They're really happy in the place that doesn't get as much sun and is a little bit more covered, so it's a little moister. They're just like popping, right? So we said some of these features, the velvety on one side of the leaves, purple or white flowers. Let me see. So you can see right here, the leaf is like a heart, but also we know our heart is not actually shaped like a heart. What other part of our body is kind of shaped like this? Said real.
Our yoni?
Ever?
Yeah, like our pelvis, right? Our yoni. So this is a plant that has a very beautiful affinity for women and women's issues. Okay. So that's called like the doctrine of signatures, is looking at how things mirror us and having an understanding of how it could possibly help those parts. Yeah. And you can't see it as much, but it's growing up from the center and out. Okay. They're not all like growing just out and about. They're all coming from a similar center place. So the herbal actions, remember the way that the plant acts in the body is it's an alterative. So remember that one is where it helps move the lymph and helps the metabolic process and takes it to the different detoxification organs. Demulcent, which protects inflamed tissue, and a dissolvent. So you can imagine that dissolves. So here you can kind of see it's like an upside down. So this is a beautiful, the leaf specifically, a beautiful anti-cancer herb, specifically useful for tumors. Like I said, it's a dissolvent. It like is able to like dissolve tumors. Now it has an affinity for breasts. So it's specifically good for cysts or what is it? Fibrocystic, I can't ever say that word correctly, but fibrocystic breast, you guys know what I'm talking about. And as well as tumors and different things like that. Infusions of the violet leaves are really great for that. It's a cooling herb. So then it says it's for the headaches, because remember, purple flower, crown chakra. So it's a cooling for especially like hot-headedness or headaches that are from like tension, memory issues, weak nerves, overthinking, where you're just like, you feel your head is just like hot. My mom did acupuncture on me the other day. She goes, Katie, your head feels hot. Not even like a fever hot, but you're just like, ah. And I was like, oh, I could probably use some cooling herbs. But again, remember, what is the emotion with the liver is anger, like, ha, you're hot, right? So this is something that in this season can kind of cool that down, bring it down. It's also as a demulcent, which has like protective, like the sliminess, mucilaginous of the mucosa, like the digestive tract or like the respiratory tract. And this is an herb that is really beneficial in that demulcent manner for the respiratory system. Hot coughs or congestion, dry coughs, because if it's hot and dry, this is a moistening and a cooling herb, so it will counteract the issues you're having in your throat. I love every year to make I collect all the flowers and I pour hot water and I let it sit, and then I'll usually collect more flowers and I'll heat that water up and do it again and it turns this really pretty purple. And then I do half of the infusion and half with honey and make a syrup, and I'll just add it to everything just for us, just to have through this season, kind of cool us down, support our lungs through this seasonal shifts. All the things are in the air, floating around, pollen everywhere. And so that's one thing. I made an oxymel, which was half vinegar and half honey. And what was I just thinking? Oh, and one thing I really like to do, we'll get to dandelion flowers, but I make a breast oil. And this year I added violet flowers too. I don't I haven't had it since I was young, but the cystic kind of breasts run in my family, just kind of lumpy sometimes, and gotten it checked out, and they're like, this is the same, you've had it since you're 16. I was like, I know, I told you we didn't need to keep looking at this. Don't worry about it. But I made the oil, and I infused the flowers and oil, and it'll be ready soon. I get so excited. And it's just a beautiful, luscious breast oil, helps relieve the tension, helps give all that same beautiful energy into the breast, the congestion, right? It helps things move. And we have so much lymph tissue around our breasts that these alternative herbs help make sure things don't get stuck there energetically and physically, right? And the leaves are also great for that as well, or as a poultice, again, where you chew it up and you put it on there, just smack on there. It's really good for that. After I get all the flowers, I'll also spend the next few months just collecting and drying the leaves to keep and have on hand to use for infusions and different things. You can also just eat them and put them in salads too, your wild weed salad. Any questions about violet? Other than like, you obviously want to go and be BFFs, maybe if you find them, you have to let me know what song they sing to you.
How do you prepare it? Like to eat it? You just
Wash it and chop it up.
okay, cool.
Yeah,
You don't have
just
to-
like a normal leaf. If I'm gonna put fresh plants in oil, I let them like wilt, because they have such a high water content that water and oil, that can go rancid. So I would let it wilt and let like a lot of the water content kind of evaporate, and then I would put it in water, in oil. I dry the leaves, but you can also put them fresh. I dry them so I can have them throughout the year. I put the fresh flowers in the infusion. The flowers won't last, they won't keep. I put the fresh flowers in the half vinegar, half honey. You can put violet flowers in the honey. It's always fun. I actually put some of it in here because my throat was feeling a little scratchy before class. So I'm drinking violet right now.
You say the dried flowers won't last even if they're dry?
No, yeah, the flowers won't really last. Some people, I've never tried this recipe, but they like make candied flowers, so then they last a little bit. I've never done that. I got a lot going on. I don't get nearly as creative in the kitchen as I would like to. I'll be 100%. I'm just trying to make sure everyone eats healthy meals 3 times a day, right? But there are some pretty cool recipes for that. The simple syrup is what I do every year, where I just infuse the flowers overnight in hot water. And I'll usually do a few rounds, just adding more flowers, but I have an abundance in my backyard, so that makes it easier. And right now, like I have, I don't know if I posted it, but I have a few violet flower recipes that'll come up in reels on my Instagram, and all the wild food plant Instagrams are posting about them right now too. So there's a lot of fun things, people who have much more time in the kitchen than I do, playing with real fun recipes. It's literally one of my favorites. Another favorite, I even have this one as a tattoo. Dandelion. So dandelion grows anywhere, and it's got this beautiful taproot that dandelion actually benefits the soil anywhere it is. That's why in my garden, we do not pull them up as bad weeds. We're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. In fact, if we've had to pull them out of certain areas, we replant them somewhere else that we want them, because we're just like encouraging them all the time for all the benefits. So we're going to talk about dandelion because there's a lot of dandelion lookalikes, but generally, you can kind of see from this picture, I have a few more coming up, don't worry. But dandelion, it grows all from the center. We call that like a rosette, okay? And dandelion, if you were to pop, like just take the flower off, it would be a hollow stem with a white sap, okay? The leaves, you can kind of see in this picture, but I'll show you more. The leaves, the angles point down, okay? And for each flower stem, there's only one flower. It just goes so high and has a flower, okay? So that's how you can kind of tell dandelion. I'll show you some other lookalikes and some better pictures so you can really be like, this is dandelion. Once you know dandelion, you won't confuse it with anything else. But sometimes when you're still trying to get to know, they tend to grow next to each other and you're like, wait, they all look the same. The yellow flowers, they all have the poof balls that you can blow off, but we'll get there. So the herbal actions for dandelion that it has on the body is hepatic. So hepatic is always connected to the liver. So that means it supports the liver. It's a digestive stimulant. It's also considered a bitter. It's a tonic and it's an alterative. Okay, you got that? Okay, so see how they're all coming up from the center and going out? That's how you can tell. It's all coming up. And just one and boom, okay? So dandelion is just a tonic plant. I'm gonna sound like my mother saying this, but it's just a gift from the gods, okay? She says that all the time. Everything is a gift from the gods. But dandelion like really, really, really is, okay? I have this plant tattooed on me and it's from the root to the flower because what I love about dandelion is every single part of this plant is medicinal. I think we talked about this on your podcast, right, Amelia? Didn't we talk about? Yeah. It's so amazing. It's a digestive aid, so it supports our digestive system. It's a liver aid, which is so important. My grandfather lived to 92 and he was strong and kicking really up until like the last month of 92. And honestly, he said everyone in his family lives until 92. I feel like if he would have said they lived until 98, he just would have lived to 98. He was a very stubborn man. So I feel like he said it and he got it and he was done. And he used to say, he was like, oh, that was just a regular green on the farm where he grew up, right? And I was like, I know, that's why you're 92 and doing pretty well, because dandelion greens were a regular part of your diet. We're growing up where they're trying to poison them and tell us they're a problem, which is a whole other conversation. But they're extremely nutritious, full of vitamins and minerals. The root is so beneficial for us. This dandelion also has a beautiful affinity for women, helps with our menstrual issues again, because the bitter helps the liver and it helps us be able to process our hormones and not be backlogged with them and have all these emotional disturbances, right? It supports the flow of the lymph because it helps the urinary tract. So it helps the kidneys, it helps the liver. I was reading that it also is just supportive of the respiratory system. Just like if you're having issues, you just add it to whatever blend you're doing because it just adds benefit. It is just so good from head to toe. Even the sap is good for skin issues. If you have blemishes, you just take it, you just pop it and just put the little white sap right on your blemish. The flowers are what I put with the violet flowers. They're great in a breast oil because they really help the congestion in our breasts so that there's flow and we're not holding energy there. I love how I do this. I'm just like, just grabbing my boobs, like, yeah, just like flow around, like, yeah. And because I love it, I look forward in this season to offer my breast that special breast oil. That's living with the cycle, living with the seasons, right? It's helping that movement with the plants that are here, saying, here, I'm here right now. This is what you need from me, right? They're here for us. The flowers are also the bees' first food, so we'd never take all of them, okay? The thing with violets is that they're not, the violet flowers do not hold the seeds. So you can take all the violet flowers and you're not affecting the plant's procreation, just a side note. But with dandelion flowers, I never take all of them. There's usually a bunch around and you take some and then you leave the rest for the animals, for the plant to keep going. And when you do pull it up from the root in the fall, you got to give a lot of thanks because you're taking the whole plant. It's offering its whole life to you, right? But the roots are so good for us. They're full of like carbohydrates that our body loves. It's just an all around beneficial plant, okay? supports the flow, supports our liver, supports digestion, just helps make sure everything is working tip-top shape. The leaves, again, something you can put in salads, you can juice them, you can put them in smoothies. They're really bitter, so the young leaves, especially right now in spring, are ideal because they're not as bitter as the older leaves, but yeah, eat it. You can make, one year I took like the small plants where I don't pull up the leaves, but just like at the base, and you can, what is it, like where you like put it in batter and fry it. I don't know what it's called. But it's super yummy that way too. You can make dandelion flower fritters. Anything you can do with regular greens, you can do with this plant. It's so good to eat, to have in medicine, everything. Any questions on dandelion? All right, so see the leaves are pointing down. That's how you can tell. It's kind of pink here. And again, it's coming out from the center. Here's a lookalike. All right, so see, this is called hawksbeard. So first of all, the leaves are kind of pointing up or out straight. And look how it goes up and has all these different flowers. That is not dandelion. Dandelion has the one stem and one flower, okay? Also, this does not have the stem is not the same. If you were like to touch it next to a dandelion, it has a very different stem. Okay, chickweed. Oh, this is another favorite. God, I can't pick one. I can't. All right, this one is pretty much everywhere, but it also likes moist, cooler, shady locations. This has been where I live since the winter, and it's almost on its last leg, but my my partner lives in Connecticut, and his is like still close to the ground, and it's just getting going. It's got opposite leaves and little white flowers, and it's cooling, demulcent. This has saponins, and saponins can actually get past the cell walls and get into the cell. So it's got a very special abilities. Oh, so my back goes, I'm sorry. Right, see opposing leaves. And one way you can tell it's chickweed is that there's one line of hair on the stem, okay? Just one single line, it's really small. But it also often grows next to something that looks just the same, but is hairy all over. This is mouse ear chickweed. It has similar benefits, but it was not as delightful to eat because it's very hairy. It will probably irritate your throat a little bit. This one is smooth. So this is extremely nutritious. The saponins help our bodies absorb nutrients and neutralize toxins and really be able to get in and clear it out. They say it's actually the one thing that can help get the fat out of a cell and help you actually lose weight. It's a great poultice for fresh wounds. It has an affinity for hot eyes because it's a cooling plant, right? A cooling, moistening plant. So we're going to look at plants like dandelion, which is a bitter and helps support the liver in that way. And then we're also looking at these cooling and moist plants that help if the liver is pissed off, that the liver need, the heat that can be in the liver and show up in the body. That's what we're seeing, the two different things that can come up a lot, and the plants that are growing right now that serve us in those ways, okay? And the above ground plant, fresh, I love to eat it. You can make a pesto. I don't like pesto. I try to make a pesto of this damn plant every year. I don't like pesto, but I have been juicing it instead, and I love it. I had so much energy, and my digestion was like amazing. So juicing chickweed is my new thing. It is green. It tastes grassy as could be, but I added some celery and cucumber, and it was just, I have some in the fridge right now, and it keeps pretty well in the fridge. So go get you some chickweed. It's so delicious to me. It's got like the best flavor to just eat it raw. I've been chopping it up, like putting it on as a garnish on literally anything I eat. It's so good. All right, so again, just that one little hair. Cleaver, I love this plant. So this plant grows in most temperate regions. So think of the name, it cleaves. How you'll know is cleaver. So it grows up and has these little leaves coming out, and you can kind of see it's got like a coarse hairy. So sometimes when you see a lot of hairs, it's really soft. This one is not. This one is kind of like Velcro. And if you hang out with cleavers, even if you don't realize you're hanging out with cleavers, you will, because you're going to look down and it's literally stuck to you. When I'd walk through my yard, it's not one of the more prominent plants, but I like to walk around in socks. All my socks look like I never clean them because I just walk around outside in socks all the time. It's my toxic trait. And then I look down and there's always cleavers stuck to the bottom of my foot, always. But if we're thinking it's an alternative, cleavers, so think of that kind of like stickiness is kind of like a pipe cleaner. And if you're pushing the pipe cleaner through a straw, you're going to push everything through the straw, right? With that pipe cleaner. And that's kind of what cleavers do in our body. So it says it's a diuretic. It helps get things through the urinary tract. It's an alternative. This is a great plant for lymphatic movement. Helps move the lymph, help just get gunk going. My body is super sensitive to cleavers. Like we have a lot of lymph right here. And if I take too much of the tincture, I will break out right here because it's like, get out, get out, get out. So I make a lot of infusions of cleaver, and it's a little more gentler on my body personally. Great for urinary support, kidney health, liver health. It is moving things from the lymph out through our detoxification organs. And it's the above ground plant. This is not one that you want to eat because again, it's like coarse and rough. And I think it's called like a straw something. I read somewhere that maybe this was what they made the bed that Mary gave birth to Jesus on. That's what I've read. I don't know. Based on when it comes up, I don't know if that even matches, but it's something I've read. Because it's more like strawy than chickweed, which is like delicious to just pop in your mouth. Any questions about chickweed? Cleavers. This is a fun plant. Like if you throw it on your friend and see where it can land. It's specifically fun with kids, but I laugh. All right, this is Bay. This is stinging nettle. So this does not grow wild where I live. I have had to cultivate it, but I have found it in North Carolina. I have found it in like up north, and I found it in California, like in Los Angeles. So I can't figure out the rhyme or reason to where it grows and why it doesn't grow here, like just naturally. But where it does grow, it grows, because where I've planted it, it is just taken off. But it likes really rich soil. So you can see here, there's short hair on the stalks. The leaves grow opposite, very serrated leaves. And you'll know it's nettle because it will sting you. Give it a touch and you'll be like, oh yeah, that one's nettle. So this is a kidney tonic, super nutritive, and it's an alternative again. Remember, the kidneys are one of the detoxification organs. So if it's an alternative, if it's a kidney tonic, it will obviously help that process. So this is a plant full of minerals, vitamins, nourishment, great for the kidneys and great for nourishing the kidneys. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys, they rule the bones and our hair. So when you drink a lot of nettle and you support the kidneys, you also are just building better bones, supporting bone health. My son broke his arm, and one of the blends I made him has significant nettle in it for that reason. Your hair will just become more lustrous and full and growing. It supports the lungs. It builds the blood. This is just an all-around amazing plant. It can be drying if you drink it as a tea, but if you do like overnight infusions, which it just turns like this luscious dark black. Again, black is also the color of the kidneys too. And purple black. And so it just really nourishes that. And if you find it raw or like live, not just dried, you can make a nettle soup. It's just a great plant. You should just have dried just to have. And you use the leaf and the stalk. Any questions about nettle? All right, this is another one of my favorites. And then I think this might be one of the last. Then we have a few honorable mentions. Plantain. So this grows everywhere. This is the one, like I said, I even found it in Jamaica. So how you can tell And I'll show you in another picture. It's got 5 veins on the back of the leaf. There's broadleaf and longleaf. And there's strings when you pull the leaf off. I'll show you those. This is a demulcent and an emollient because it's also really great for the skin, and it's a wound healer. So I'm going to have you look at the identifiable features. So these are the 2 shapes of the leaves. Both of them are plantain, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 veins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 veins on the back. That's how you know. And then here, when you pull the leaf, there will be the strings from those veins. When you pull, you can see it here and see it here. That's how you'll know it's plantain, okay? So this being a demulcent, it's another one where if you chew it up a little bit, it's got that sliminess. So it has that quality externally on the skin and internally. So if you got stung by something or a scrape and you're just like, ah, you find plantain because it's everywhere. You chew up a leaf and you put it on that bug bite. You put it on the sting. You put it on like the little scrape, and it will help put a protective layer, help remove the sting. It's just the best wound healer. It if you dry the leaves and drink them also as an infusion, that's a demulcent for the mucous membrane. It's really great for the respiratory, really great for the digestion. Like if you're having, like if your bowels are like, they feel like dry, right? You're constipated, so that's hot and dry, right? It's not moist and coming out. So you get a cooling and moisturizing herb, lubricating herb, and like plantain, and it helps kind of get the digestion going. You can also see right here, the seeds are also something people use as a bulk laxative. Takes a lot of work and time, so I don't really do that, but you know, good to know if there's like the apocalypse and we got to figure some shit out, right? So it's good to know. So like I said, it's a respiratory ally, it's a digestive ally, and it's got a lot of vitamins, so it's really good for immune health as well. I make a lot of plantain oil, and I make a salve because it's really good, especially if you have kids or you just are out and get a lot of bug bites. The salve, the oil is like the best. One time when Lennox was a baby, he had like a yeast diaper rash, and they gave me this cream and it didn't do anything. And then I couldn't afford any more cream. So I was like, well, all I have is this plantain oil. And I put it on his bottom, and this persistent rash was gone in like 2 days. So plantain's been a staple in my household ever since. And the leaves and seeds. This is one where like if you got the nettle sting and it hurts, you find a plantain leaf, chew it up, put it on there, and the sting will be gone. Although the sting of the nettle actually helps with arthritis. All right, so some honorable mentions that aren't as much medicinal, but they're really good to eat. Garlic mustard. This is so bitter, so bitter, so bitter. But I've seen some pretty cool recipes about chopping it up, maybe adding it to like a butter, or making like a Chinese pancake. I'm gonna try that. And garlic grass, you know, use it like as a chive. And you can tell it is because if you just pick one of the little strands and rub it between your fingers, taste it a little bit, it smells like garlic. And if you pull it all the way up, it's like got like a little baby onion. Did I keep the picture? Yeah, like that. Okay. So I like to just use this part for like a chive replacement, but you can pull that up too. Okay, so these are just some that you might see around. All right. Have any questions, any thoughts, anything you guys want to know? Any certain plants you've seen around you want to ask about? Anything, let me know. Hit me.
So if you see, for example, plantain on the side of the road, what can you take to plant at home? The seeds, or you have to take part of the root? Like, can you grow it yourself from those seeds?
So I've never done the seed. What my mom and I did in her garden, she was pulling up some plants in another place. We just pulled up the whole plant and replanted it in another part of the garden.
Okay.
That's what we've done to cultivate it in another little plantain patch.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done the seeds. And then if you get it and it's a super hardy plant. So if you get it and it takes hold, all of a sudden it will start popping up around there anyways. It will then do its own thing.
Okay. And then with nettle, the same thing you said, you have to get it shipped to you, right? You have to.
Well, that's what I did. That's what I had a friend do. I can try and ship you one. I have another girl who wanted me to ship her a plant.
Yes, I will pay you for it.
Yeah, well, I have so much. Like, it's abundant in my mom's house. Like, I have to like literally pull it up in certain places because it's too much. So I can do that anyways, and you can just pay me for the shipping.
Yeah, I've been looking all over and it's just like not here in Texas.
Yeah, I know. And and then when you plant it, put it in like a place it likes moist, rich, little shady. It doesn't want to be like in full sun soil, at least in my experience with it. Yeah, and then it'll take off if it finds a place it likes, but it doesn't seem to naturally grow where I live and maybe where you are in Texas. Yeah, girl, you can message me and it's been on my mind. I have to send it to this other girl too. And since someone sent me a plant, I feel like it's only right. And I ran into, and like when I went camping with my guy, I brought him a plant too. I was like, here's nettle.
It's like the best gift ever.
I know, I gave him some yarrow and some nettle. Funny, he actually planted it today. So that's just telling me we gotta get it going. Spread the nettle love.
Yes.
I've tried planting nettle by seed and I haven't had luck with that either. So for me, this was just the best route.
You can use a little rubber band.
Any other questions? Well, if you like this, what?
Well, okay. Well, I just want. Okay. I'll wait.
Okay. Well, I'm just because I'm going to be. I have this new offering coming up called an herbalist in every home, where I will be teaching plant identification. We're going to cover these 8 plants. It's 8 herbs for 8 weeks. We're going to dive into each of these. I'm working with 2 different herbalists. One was one of my students, Renee, and I'll be doing plant identification. She'll be doing medicine making. And this wonderful woman who has like a plant spiritual business is doing the plant spirit connection. This is Renee, me, and Emily. And it's an herb a week. There's tons of bonuses and different things about foraging and medicine making, live gatherings, as well as tea parties, Chanel, about. And it's just really, and the price point is really great. We really wanted this to be accessible to so many different women to really begin their herbalist in every home journey. So everybody can begin to really offer, herbs to their loved ones and be our little home witches. Okay. So if, I think only one person, it's not my friend on Instagram, the few of us here, but the link is in my bio. And there's a special herbal gift included in the herbs because we send you all 8 herbs. And so if you sign up from this class, you get a special herb included, like a little medicine made either by myself or by Emily. But it's going to be like really fun. I'm super duper excited. We get to really, it's like we go on, I'm going to be taking everyone like on a plant walk to really get to know each plant, dive deep every week, and then make a medicine with it, and then have a beautiful spiritual connection with it as well. With journaling and meditation and stuff. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, let me know. And if you sign up for this, then, or anything from Sacred Sister Circle in the next month of April, then you get a little bonus in your package as well. But what were you going to say, Devonna?
Amazing. I was just going to say, seriously, like you are amazing. Like, I learned so much today. I'm so glad I was able to make it live.
Yay.
And get this wisdom for the spring season. And I'm so inspired. And just to have you in here in the inner temple. So
I'm glad to be here. I mean, this, like I said, even if I was sleepy, I could talk about these plants in my sleep. They're like my favorite. And like I had to spend all day inside today, and I was like really in a grumpy mood. I was like, it's so pretty. I want to be with my plant friends. So yeah, it's like my favorite thing to do.
We
so
feel it. We feel your heart, your spirit, your passion, your wisdom, your joy, your humor, your inner child, your bliss. Like You're just right at home.
Yay, thank you. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the sisters who joined too.
Yeah. It was
Herb
good
Lady
to see ya.
Katie.
So if I stop this, you'll have the recording and everything. It'll just go to y'all.
Yep. So people know where to reach out to you. Everyone got a screenshot. Everyone got the link. You want to pop a link in there of any kind. We'll also have the link in the replay in the inner temple. So grateful.
Fun hanging out with y'all. All right. Thanks, ladies. And okay, we didn't go too late, right? So we can still get a good bedtime.
Thank you so much. I got so much out of it too. It was amazing. and loved
Wonderful.
your
Thank
energy.
you.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
this. Yay.
Yeah, thank
Love
you. Have
you.
a good
Part of
night.
this.
Enjoy spring. And,
Thank you.
if you do go online and if you do go out and you find plants, follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back and tag me so we can, talk plants.
I think I'm following you. That sounds good. Oh, there goes my
Yeah, the
dog.
dogs agree. All right. Thank you, ladies. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.